Been calm, making good decisions. That's exactly what Veltman did. Assess the situation of Mason Mount on my right hand side. It's tap in for him. Yeah. I can't get that. Who's in possession of the ball? It's Hudson-Odoi. Do I fancy him to score 1v1? I'm not too sure. Yeah. I'll give him the opportunity to shoot, but I won't give that ball on the inside.
A shot from an angle. I have my goalkeeper. If it's square ball, it's 100% chance of a goal. So he's
a great defender.
He's brilliant defender.
Can you show us this stuff that you're both talking about, the sloppiness of the Chelsea play in general, and particularly from their midfield players?
Wow, man. I mean, he'll be upset, Tuchel, with the way they started, and it happened in the first 5 seconds. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tuchel talk about the 5 substitutes going after the game.
Yeah, that does not look like a championship winning team right there, does it? The way they're playing tonight.
Well, no chance. I said there's no conversation to be had off the back of that performance. I will say about Jorginho and Kovacic in particular, their attributes are in possession of football. Technically they're very good. Jorginho in particular, his ball retention is fantastic. They can't defend, but to mitigate that, they're very good in possession. They can keep the ball and keep it away from the opposition. Didn't even see that second half. Damon's pointed out Jorginho getting dispossessed, giving the ball away. That just literally doesn't happen. Now if you load on top of that in terms of the defensive frailties which they have, I mean that's a recipe for disaster in the central area of the pitch. I mean it's kind of unacceptable. That's what I'm saying. It can't be that bad. Kante coming on, I'm surprised he left it that late to bring him onto the pitch, but he gave him an element of control in that area of the pitch. Lamptey coming off was a surprise for me at that stage, because he was like so effective down that right hand side. Maybe he was looking after him.
That would look like it was a premeditated.
It was a shame. I thought they lost the impetus a little bit. Him coming on, Kante coming off, it looked as if Chelsea had weathered the storm, but fair play to Brighton.
And in fairness, you're not the only pundit who tipped up Chelsea at the start of the season. Anyone that I was speaking to really was saying they thought Chelsea could do it this year, and it looked very good up until the last few weeks. What's the story with a performance like that?
They looked tired. It didn't look as fluid and high intensity. You got to understand, Thomas Tuchel places huge demands on his players, probably in training as well. Their training session numbers, I guarantee, will be through the roof. They look like they're lagging a bit for whatever reason, but they need to find some energy from somewhere.
I'll hold you there. Tell us about the goal. Kenny was hoping he'd say, yeah, I thought Rudiger just didn't fancy it, and then I got up there and I scored. I cut you off before you got to make a point about Chelsea's performance there and what exactly has happened to them over the last number of weeks.
Yeah, but we spoke about kind of Jorginho and Kovacic said to midfield. That's untypical of them, how poor they were in possession. That's generally not going to happen again. But there's some basic fundamentals in the setup of that Chelsea team. We've kind of spoken about. They literally, for me, it's as simple as that. They have to get N'Golo Kante on the pitch for every game, pretty much between now and the end of the season. If they can do that, there's an argument to be made potentially for Chelsea chasing down Manchester.
They were Champions League winners. Sorry to go across, but the Champions League winners only a few months ago. They were near enough unbeaten. They were top of the league about 4 weeks ago. So how have these problems, have they just suddenly materialised?
No, they're always, those deficiencies are always there and always have been. I can't think of another. You talk about a reference to Manchester City, where about Rodri comes out, that kind of central midfielder, Fernandino, not a problem. They can shuffle the back. Liverpool, Fabinho comes out, well, Henderson could drop into that deep line centre midfield position, not a problem. N'Golo Kante coming out of that Chelsea midfield for an extended period of time, forget it.
You hit a lot of the hot button topics there. I mentioned the substitutes. We talked about that pre-match in case you missed that conversation. You also mentioned they should have had a penalty. We don't actually have the footage here, but I presume was it Pulisic went down on one side?
Development, yeah. I didn't think there was sufficient contact. I think he kind of dangled a leg, and there was actually contact between both players' shins, but not enough contact for me. I didn't think it was a penalty.
I think the ball had been left behind anyway, so as he kind of lost control of it, and it was behind him by the time the contact was made. So I don't know if that's a mitigating factor.
He's fuming.
He's fuming. That's the grumpiest we've seen him, I'd say. Yeah,
he's fuming. I don't agree with him again. I don't like the negative spin in terms of all the extra two substitutes. I can't play with wing backs now. Yeah, play with full backs then. Challenge yourself. This is the challenge of the Christmas period in terms of rotation and kind of finding solutions amongst your squad.
He can't see past his own problems, but from a new or them down, you know what I mean? And they deserve reward for that. They worked Chelsea to the bone and they got their just rewards in the end. It would have been unfair if they've got 2 11s of international players to take another 2 off there and they see that out 1-0. That's unfair.
It does sometimes benefit the Leicester team as well. Leicester, for example, had Jamie Vardy hobbling around on a dodgy hamstring for the last 20 minutes against Liverpool, and I'm sure they would have made a change. So it's not always the case that it's only the big teams that benefit.
That's fair enough, and I take that point. But what he's talking about there, you got to reward the underdog. They put in 70 minutes of real graft and worked them to the bone, dragged them down into the gutter, and then it would have been unfair for them to be able to take 2 internationals off the bench and see the game out.
What do you think?
For me, it's more about the spectacle. It's more dramatic what we're seeing there in terms of that bit of physical fatigue, affecting the players. And looking at it,
don't we want to just work them to the bone?
Well, for me, it's about
Brighton do.
for me, it's about the spectacle. You know, it's the viewing public. It's not about, for me, Thomas Tuchel. He's in his little bubble. I think about himself and players, the club, his new contract, etc., etc. But it's bigger than that. It's about the fans, about the millions of fans watching at home, what they're seeing, the spectacle, the drama that you're providing. And that game was far more dramatic for me because Tuchel couldn't make those substitutions.
Brilliant because, you know, Brighton go there, they put a shift in, they got rewarded. You know, it shouldn't be a case of we all get out of the big boys' way, let them battle it for the title, and then see if they can win the Champions League. Because then you're going into like a loaded type situation. It shouldn't be like that.
He didn't want to talk about or think about the Liverpool game just yet. We can think about it now. It's very hard to call that one, given how they both underperformed quite badly this midweek.
I'll tell you, Liverpool, it's going to be a great game. If it's a draw, I'd nearly be with Kenny there and say that could be curtains.
You give Pep the trophy.
Well, I mean, listen,
still 1-0 in that game.
Then I would say they'd be in the driving seat, but I fully expect the Chelsea to win tonight, and then perhaps one of them to get a result and go all the way. But look, I don't think the title's over just yet. But I think Man City, with the bit between their teeth, they hit the front and they get a bit of daylight. They'll put their foot down.
That's the overriding factor in it, in terms of how City are performing at a level that they're at in comparison to what we're seeing at Liverpool and Chelsea at the moment, in terms of everything being a bit more fragmented and almost coming apart, it seems. So I look at this Chelsea-Liverpool game at the moment and thinking, do you know what? I'm not sure it really matters at the moment who wins that game from a Manchester City's context, because of where they are. You know what I mean? In terms of form, mentality, the whole thing, it's just really pointing towards there's a real significant gap now in terms of the points, not only in terms of the points, but just in terms of form-wise, mentality, and where Manchester City are at the moment. For me, there's a big distance now between them, Liverpool, and Chelsea.
How much energy they'll draw from the fact that they'll be 8 points clear. They'll be bounding into games thinking, if we keep our foot down, it's a lot easier to play games when you're 8 points clear, because the natural enthusiasm, whereas if you're involved in a dogfight, it can be pretty difficult.
Potentially a bit grim, because it's all very exciting watching the smaller teams like Brighton take points tonight, and then in the cold light of day we're going to wake up tomorrow and, well, who knows, Man City might have equalised by the time we finish this conversation.
But without even watching that Brentford game tonight, you wouldn't be surprised that'll finish 1-0. But even haven't watched the game, but you can get a sense of 70-75% possession. Manchester City controlling things, almost playing in third or fourth gear, just seeing themselves to not overextend themselves physically. You saw Liverpool the other night absolutely flat out physically. Chelsea players tonight absolutely dead on their feet coming off the pitch. These are the things that I'm kind of talking about, which is really pointing towards Manchester City being in such a good place.
Alright guys, great chat tonight. We've got one more game coming up this week. That's Man United against Burnley tomorrow, so we'll be building up to that one from, I think it's 7:30, 7:45 actually, to be specific about it. Big thanks to it. You learn something new in these kind of weeks. I never knew Kenny Cunningham couldn't handle his spicy food, Damien. Anything more spicy than a chicken nugget, it's just not happening for you then, okay?
Yeah, bit of ketchup, and that's
not even the ketchup, it's a touch too far. Thank you so much, Damien. Thanks, Kenny. Brilliant stuff. We'll hopefully see a lot of you tomorrow. Take care and good night.